Welcome back to the Progress Over Perfection podcast, where we talk to real people about real things involving weight loss, fitness, nutrition, and mindset. I'm your host, Ryan Johnson, and the show is produced by Josh Toller. If you haven't already, go ahead and drop us a like and subscribe, and you will help us get this content out to more people. Also, we are a call-in style show, so if you'd like to be a caller on the show, please fill out the form linked in the description or the show notes. And now, a short word from the sponsor of today's episode. We'd like to thank today's sponsor, Premier Protein. If you've been following my journey for a while, you know how important it is for me to find simple and effective ways to get my protein in, especially with my busy lifestyle. That's where Premier Protein comes in. This isn't just any protein shake, it's been a game changer for me. I usually break my fast with one of these. Why? Well, it's packed with 30 grams of protein and it's low in sugar, making it the perfect first meal of the day for me. It keeps me full, fuels my muscle, and supports my recovery after workout. Plus, the taste, they're really good. I've always been a fan of their cafe latte flavor, but they've got a variety of options to suit any taste. It's like having a treat without the guilt. And for those of you who are always on the go like me, Premier Protein shakes are super convenient. Just grab one on your way out the door and you're set. So if you're looking to support your fitness goals and need a convenient, tasty way to up your protein intake, give Premier Protein a try. Trust me, your taste buds and your muscles will thank you. And remember, it's all about progress over perfection. Today, I'm just going to read you a text that I received from one of my coaching clients on Monday. He sent this to me and my assistant coach, Mike. Hey, just wanted to share a ton of wins from this last week. So I moved up a notch on my watches. I guess my wrists are getting smaller. I wore a light pullover jacket on Saturday that when I got it for Christmas 4 months ago, it didn't fit me even with no undershirts. And on Saturday, I had it on with 2 undershirts and it fit great. I did real push-ups in the workout last week, like 10 of them. I remember that first workout 2 to 3 months ago, I couldn't do one real push-up. I had to do the scaled knee versions. I wore my smaller size shorts out on Saturday. I've been hesitant to do so because they've been tight and uncomfortable these last few months. Not so much anymore. According to my health app, I'm up to averaging roughly 6,200 steps a day now as compared to 3,500 a day back in January. And that's also been my historic average in general. And finally, last year, I couldn't fit on the Hagrid's roller coaster ride or the Escape from Gringotts ride at Universal. Not even close. And on Saturday, I tried out both of the seats again and easily fit in with no issues. And we rode Gringotts. The Hagrid line was too long. And this is a huge win because I have literally avoided roller coasters and theme parks in the past due to my weight. And given my wife and family here loves them, a goal of mine has been to lose and maintain the weight loss so I don't even have to second guess anymore, and I can just enjoy the parks with my family. One of the reasons I think that we struggle in building and maintaining habits long term is we get hyper focused on the scale without realizing the thing that we are actually after is feeling better, being able to do more things, and sometimes the scale won't move, which leads us to believe that the habits that we are building, they aren't working or they aren't worthwhile. But if we take a step back and see all of the other benefits that we are receiving, it can help us to stay focused and committed. Now, I say this, I have always been somebody in the past that hyper focuses on the scale because we are able to see that tangible number. Unfortunately, that is our default way to measure success, but we forget the thing that we are really after is that life where we are able to do the things that we want to do. And we need to take time when we are assessing whether or not what we're doing is working, is are we achieving some of those other goals that we are after? Now, one of the things that I like to do with clients is have them list out all of their goals and all of the things that they want to achieve when looking for a healthier life if you were never allowed to step on the scale. If you never knew what that number was, what are you really looking for? Is it your clothes are fitting better? You're able to ride roller coasters? Is it you're able to get down and play with your kids on your hands and knees without getting winded? Think about all of those things, and those are also ways that we measure progress. And I think sometimes those are often forgotten because sometimes it's not quite as tangible as the number on the scale. Now, next up, we have our first caller for today's show. Heath, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, thanks for being on. How's everything in your world?
Everything's going great.
Good stuff. What's on your mind today?
So I'm trying to eat better with my macros. And I always have the question of like, how much protein am I supposed to be intaking on an average day?
I think that's a great question. So Heath actually worked with us a few months ago. And I think one of the things that we always talk about is like we build. So we start with fasting, we move to fitness and then nutrition. I think when it comes to nutrition, macros, once you've kind of got calories down, right, that's the first building block. And then we move to macros. And then within macros, protein is the one that I like to have people focus on the most. Generally, what we say is like 0.8 grams to 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight. With that being said, one of the things that I think about once you start tracking is what are you typically getting in a given week? So are you tracking now, Heath?
I try to track it as much as I can. It's not perfect. It doesn't happen every day.
Do you kind of recall where you're at grams wise on protein?
Every meal. So I have a hard time tracking it. Just my daily amount at the end of the day. But I try to get a sizable protein like every meal that I do. I don't really know where I'm supposed to be at. And so I try to just get some protein in at every meal.
No, so that's great. So here's what I'll say. So everything is kind of like on a progression, right? Like there's where we start and then kind of like where we move to. And when it comes to tracking protein, the first thing that I say is it is important to just generally track and get an idea of what you're doing now, because that's going to tell us what our goal should be. Meaning, if you track and you are typically getting 50 to 70 grams of protein, to jump that up to 200, that's going to be a radical shift. And what we want is like sustaining these habits. So what I would do is I would track, see what you're doing now, and then look to increase that depending on how far you are from that 200. You know, if you're at 150 grams now, okay, maybe you just go up 50 grams, you hit that goal. But if you're at 70, which I have people that are at 70 grams a day, the first thing I do is like, all right, let's go to 110 consistently. Let's do that for a few weeks. All right, now let's go to 150. Marching towards that, but not, again, that's the opposite of we don't want to change everything tomorrow, do it for a week or two, and then fall off because it was too much. So the first thing is with tracking. And then the second thing that I recommend is that you start pre-inputting your food either before the meal or before the day, because at some point that's what it's going to actually take to hit the target, is because you can look and see, okay, right now I finished lunch off with 80 grams and what am I going to eat the rest of the day? Well, let me have this bag of popcorn and then we're going to have hamburgers for dinner. You put in that bag of popcorn and the hamburgers and now you're at 130 grams of protein. Well, because you input the food before you actually ate the food, now you can look back and say, okay, if I have a popcorn as a snack and a hamburger as a meal, that's not going to be enough protein. So now I can make that adjustment. I'm going to swap the popcorn for a protein shake. So that's 0.8 grams to 1 gram is what you're shooting for. So that's good. But the way that you will actually hit it is by starting to pre-track what you are so that you can make those adjustments. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, thanks again for joining me today, man.
Thanks.
All right, next up we have Ethan joining us. How's everything in your world?
Pretty good.
Oh, good stuff. What's on your mind today?
So I was just wondering, in a culture that often emphasizes achieving the perfect body, how can individuals shift their mindset towards evaluating progress instead?
I love that question. And I think that's something that I have absolutely struggled with in the past. And I think one of the things that is important is to document your own progress. Don't fixate on the scale. That's like the opposite of what we're talking about today. Like, yes, that is a number, but how are your lifts in the gym? What's your body composition look like? Like, it's important to track where you are and where you're going along the journey. That's something I did personally. I took progress photos every week. I document what I eat now. Like, that's me documenting what I eat as a part of my own personal documentation. And the reason why that is so important is it's going to sound cliche, but it's cliche because it's true, is you have to continually remind yourself you are measuring where you are now versus where you were in the past, not where you are now versus where somebody else is. And I say that because it's a trap that I fell into, especially when it comes to six packs. There was a few times in my life where I chased a six pack and I got it when I lost a lot of weight and had a six pack. Well, then I was like, man, I'm not as muscular as these guys. And that comparison trap can lead you to feeling down, to questioning if what you're doing is worth. If you measure where you are versus where you were, then you can start to see that progress, which kind of fuels the motivation. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that one.
Well, good stuff, man. Again, thanks for joining me today, and I hope you have a great day, man. All right, next up we have Rachel joining us. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well. How's everything in your world?
It's going well, yeah. Baby's down for sleep, so it's all good.
You can't beat that.
Yeah.
How old is she?
She is 11 months, turning a year on May 1st.
Oh, that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Right around the corner. Good stuff. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, so my question is, as a new mom, I've been struggling with maintaining my weight, actually. I've lost like 10 pounds from my pre-pregnancy weight. And so I've been like trying to focus on my protein, incorporating good fats. And also I've learned I need to keep up with my carbs as well to keep up with the energy that I'm losing. And so for exercise, I've been trying to take long walks, probably consistently 5 times out of the week. But I do know I need to start doing some kind of weight training. So I was wondering what your take on of that is, someone starting from the ground up, starting that journey.
No, yeah. So I think the first thing that is important to understand, I think it falls into that whole, again, that it's cliche, but it's true, like progress over perfection. I think there is a difference between, there is the ideal thing that we need to be doing, right? That's like resistance training, potentially 3 to 4 times a week, eating and our nutrition, making sure that it supports that with a perfect mix of proteins, fats, and carbs from whole food sources. Like that's ideal, but then it's important to understand where you are now and then just making those first initial steps. So I have talked with a few people in the past when it comes to gaining weight, which is a thing in and of itself. It's important to kind of track what you're doing now and find those sustainable ways to increase your calories. Things like, okay, maybe you need to increase your calories by 300 to 500 calories a day. If 300 to 500 calories a day is too much, oftentimes we think, I can't do that, so we do nothing. It's like, well, no, let's not do that, but maybe we increase calories by 100, right? Maybe it's an extra teaspoon of peanut butter or a protein shake, whatever the case is. Find something to get that incremental increase. Do that consistently, and then once that becomes your new normal, then look for that kind of next increase. That's going to do a few things. One, it's going to let it not get out of hand because we don't want that either, right? Like even if you have the ability to eat more, you don't want to just eat more because you can't either. But then also you're going to find that sustainability aspect of it because it's just going to become your new normal. It's kind of the opposite of what we do when we work with people to lose weight. I'm not going to take you from, if you're eating 2,800 calories a day, I'm not going to take you to 1,800. Yes, you're absolutely going to lose weight, but are you going to sustain it? No, because you cut what you're eating by a third. I'm going to bring you from 2,800 to 2,600, and I would do the same in reverse if you were trying to add weight. Is let's incrementally increase and then check the scale, check how our clothes are fitting. As we increase it, if we're gaining just a little bit of weight, well, that's perfect. Let's just do that for a long period of time. And then as far as resistance training, I follow the same pattern in that, especially when you've got a little one and we are busy with lives, we can't live in the gym, right? It's just, yes, that's ideal, but it becomes tough. And I think sometimes if we can't get in 4 resistance training sessions a week, we tend to do none. So I'd say start with 1, maybe 2 a week. Do that consistently and then increase it over time. And then as far as like what type of resistance training, I would just start with maybe 1 to 2 sessions a week, whole body exercises, meaning you hit every muscle group, you hit your chest, your back, your arms, your legs, everything, every time. That also helps when you've got a new one around and she's sick or not feeling well, you're not able to get to the gym. Well, if you did every body part yesterday and you're not able to get to the gym again this week, at least every week you hit every body part, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Thanks again for everyone who joined us today. And as a reminder, if you have questions like these or would like to be on the show, please fill out the form linked in the description and the show notes. It's at this point we're going to move to the part of the show where we jump into the comment section. So this is a comment taken from one of my YouTube videos where I had taken the girls out to Chuck E. Cheese for Friday night pizza. And I had mentioned I had a few slices of pizza and it wasn't that good, especially when there's Mr. 01 here in Melbourne. It wasn't that good. And I only ate a few bites. But in the past, when I was at my heaviest at 270 pounds, I would have eaten more knowing that it wasn't good. And that's what that comment is. It says, man, you're talking facts when you say you would have ate a whole pizza at 270 knowing it wasn't even good food. I do this to myself all the time with food, and guess what? I'm 270 currently. Man, Kyle, I don't always do the best job in my videos of kind of showing where I started. It's more, what I'm doing now, what I'm up to. It initially started as my weight loss journey. It's now kind of the journey of my maintenance. But there are plenty of times where I will reflect back of how what I'm doing now is different than what I'm doing before, which ties perfectly into what we're talking about in those non-scale victories, and it's you versus you. Eating less food because one, you're not hungry, and two, you have realized you don't have to eat it just because it's there. That for me is absolutely a non-scale victory, which is why I even mentioned it in the video. The fact that I didn't eat a lot of food that I didn't particularly like is a win for me, because in the past, that is absolutely something that I would have done. What I share and what I do is still not perfect, right? Like, you do not have to look very far to find flaws in my nutrition and what I do. But I think the thing that I'm trying to do and trying to show is this idea of like, I'm a little better than I was in the past. And I'd encourage you to do the same. Is if you are listening to this or watching this right now and you feel like I can't do all of that, or you get stuck in that comparison trap, I just want to challenge you, don't compare your beginnings to somebody else's middle or somebody else's end. You do have to just see where you are now and track how you are doing and how you are progressing on your journey. And for those that get stuck in that comparison trap of comparing who you were now to where you were at your best, that's another thing that I dealt with. Is I compared where I was at 270, looking back where I was when I was in college and when I was in the Army, and realizing that you can't compare your new start on your health journey to where you were at your best. I have to compare where I was a few days, weeks, and months ago, not where you were at your peak. So just something to keep in mind. And again, we are all on our own journeys. It's so important to kind of find your own way and to really buy into this idea of wanting to get healthy forever, not just for a short period of time, because then you have the time to make those small adjustments. Thanks again for listening to another episode of the Progress Over Perfection podcast. Remember, we are not looking to lose weight fast. We're looking to lose weight forever. If you have a question or would like to be a caller on the show, check out the description. Make sure you subscribe on our YouTube channel for clips and shorts of the show, and add us wherever you listen to your podcast. Thanks again for the support, and we will see you next week.